up. Bring it up the court. 27 feet. That's easy money. Again. From 31 feet. It's good. Clark with 9 points in 42 seconds. Yes, you heard that right.
Can I be real with y'all? If somebody say they need to get paid like the men, Caitlin Clark need to get paid like the men. When your franchise go from a value of 90 million to 340 million, somebody need to give you a raise, which they probably will. When you account for 26% of the economy of the WNBA as one player, just pay this woman. Somebody pay this woman.
After weeks of doubt, criticism, and whispers that maybe the Caitlin Clark era was already over, she walked back onto that hardwooded Gainbridge Fieldhouse and reminded everyone exactly why she's the most electrifying player in basketball today. 20.6 assists, and for 3-pointers that cut through the Connecticut Sun's defense like a hot knife through butter. An 88-71 demolition that wasn't even as close as the score suggested. This wasn't just a comeback. This was a statement, a declaration that no injury, no targeting, no amount of hate could keep the phenomenon that is Caitlin Clark from doing what she was born to do, dominate from the opening tip. Against Connecticut, it was clear that something special was happening. Clark moved with the kind of fluidity and confidence that made her injury seem like a distant memory. And then came the fire, because when Caitlin Clark plays, the game doesn't just heat up, it boils over. Midway through the third quarter, the tension exploded. JCS Sheldon swatted Clark across the face in a rig so blatant the crowd gasped. Clark shoved back rightfully. She had taken enough. She wasn't going to be the league's punching bag. And what followed was chaos. Suddenly, Marina Mulberry came flying in and shoved Caitlin Clark to the floor in a full body check. No play on the ball. No pretense at basketball. Just raw physical frustration unleashed on the game's brightest star. The arena erupted. Feverish fans were furious at the disrespect and the targeting. The referees froze, and then, as if reluctantly waking up to reality, they handed out technical fouls. Clark Mulberry, Tina Charles, and all the others were teed up, and JCS Sheldon, who started it all, was assessed a flagrant foul. But the real question echoed through social media like thunder. Why wasn't Mulberry ejected?
From the tip, they had no control. They let crap go. They let crap escalate. It got worse and worse and worse. And then when it was bad enough for ejections, they didn't eject players. Marina Mabrey absolutely should have had her big backside tossed out of this game, and it didn't happen.
You could feel this wasn't just a good game. This was a coronation number. 2017's 8,871 final score told the story. But it didn't capture the emotion. It didn't capture the way the crowd erupted every time Clark touched the ball. It didn't capture the visible frustration on Connecticut faces as they realized they weren't just playing basketball. They were trying to contain a force of nature. But here's what really has the haters seething. It's not just that Clark dominated. It's how she dominated with grace, with style, with the kind of effortless brilliance that can't be taught, can't be coached, and sure as hell can't be stopped by jealousy or criticism. The woke mob that spent weeks hoping her injury would humble her, would bring her back down to earth, and would prove that she was just another overhyped prospect is eating their words right now. Every criticism, every doubt, every snide comment about her being overrated was obliterated by 40 minutes of pure basketball poetry. And Stephanie White is watching all of this unfold with the satisfaction of someone who knew this moment was coming. Her reaction to Clark's silly comment about minute restrictions wasn't just understanding, it was validation. She knew that kind of confidence, that kind of hunger, that kind of refusal to accept limitations is exactly what separates superstars from everyone else. The physical game that erupted around Clark with 3 late ejections and the kind of chippy play that has become commonplace whenever she's on the court only served to highlight just how much she gets under the skin of it. Opponents, they can't handle her talent, so they resort to targeting they can't match her skill. So they try to intimidate Clark. She just keeps playing, she keeps dominating, she keeps proving that no amount of physicality, no amount of hate, no amount of jealousy can stop what she's building in Indiana White's fiery defense of a star. Her willingness to call out officials and demand better protection shows the kind of coach-player relationship that championship teams are built on. This isn't just about basketball. This is about loyalty. This is about a coach who recognizes greatness and is willing to fight for it. The critics who spent Clark's injury absence writing her obituary are now scrambling to find new angles of attack. They can't question health anymore. They can't question her ability to bounce back anymore. And they can't question whether she belongs at this level anymore. So what's left? Nothing but pure, unadulterated hate for someone who makes the impossible look routine. 20 points against a desperate Connecticut team that came in knowing they needed to make a statement. 6 assists. That created scoring opportunities out of thin air. The 3-pointers that reminded everyone why Clark's range extends beyond the parking lot. But more than the statistics, more than the final score, more than any individual moment, this game was about resilience. It was about refusing to be broken by injury, by criticism, by the constant targeting that has become part of her daily reality in this league. The haters are furious right now. They're scrambling for new narratives, new reasons to diminish life. They just witnessed. They're desperately searching for ways to explain away a performance that left absolutely no room for doubt about who the most dominant player in women's basketball really is. But there's no explaining away greatness. There's no spinning dominance. There's no arguing with results. Caitlin Clark came back from injury and didn't just play well. She conquered. She didn't just contribute. She commanded. She didn't just return. She reclaimed her throne as the most electrifying, most unstoppable, most absolutely brilliant player in the game today. And Stephanie White's reaction pure gold, the kind of coaching wisdom that recognizes when you're witnessing something special and is smart enough to just get out of the way and let greatness happen. The woke haters can cry all they want. The jealous competitors can target all they want. And the critics can doubt all they want. Caitlin Clark will just keep dominating. What did you think of Caitlin Clark's incredible return performance? Drop your reactions below and smash that subscribe button for more WNBA coverage.
Bear hugged her, took her to the ground. Yes, it was intentional. It was absolutely intentional. It was, to me, payback for what was happening the entire game.
Caitlin Clark, there is only Caitlin Clark unleashed. And that's exactly what they got. 6 assists that weren't just passes, they were surgical strikes that found teammates in positions they didn't even know they could get to. Each one was a reminder that Clark doesn't just score. She makes everyone around her better. She elevates the game of every single player who shares the court with her. And through it all, Stephanie White stood on that sideline with the kind of quiet confidence that comes from knowing you're coaching greatness. Her post-game comments weren't just supportive, they were prophetic. She talked about managing Clark's minutes and about being smart with her rotation. But you could see it in her eyes. She knew what the rest of us were witnessing.
I'll take the official questions. There wasn't an explanation for the tech that she got. You know, I think it was pretty obvious that stuff was brewing, right? When the officials don't get control of the ball game, when they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this game. It's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete. And they're going to have their teammates' backs. It's exactly what you expect, right? Out of fierce competition. So I started talking to the officials in the first quarter, and we knew this was going to happen. You could tell it was going to happen. So they got to get control of it. They got to be better. They got to be better.
You could feel the temperature rise. Barstool's Dave Portnoy lit into the officials, tweeting that if roles were reversed, Clark would have been tossed without hesitation. He wasn't alone. Fans, analysts, and even former players started demanding accountability. What are the rules if not equally enforced? But it wasn't over. Late in the fourth, just when the game should have been cooling down, it erupted again. Sophie Cunningham, a player known for her aggressive style, blindsided JCS Sheldon with a body check nowhere near the ball. Ejections followed. Cunningham, Sheldon, and Fever's Lindsay Allen were all tossed, and let's talk about these refs because enough is enough. They stood frozen watching blatant fouls go uncalled, hesitant to take control, until it spiraled into chaos that took Sophie Cunningham blindsiding Sheldon. For them to finally step up and eject players. But where were they before? That Sophie's reaction spoke louder than words' pure frustration, boys. Over she knew the refs let things escalate, she knew they'd failed to protect players. Until it was too late, the league can't wait for chaos to erupt before acting. And that's when Stephanie White lost it, the Indiana Fever coach, already simmering. All game finally boiled over in the post-game presser. She didn't hold back.
Control the game is call the fouls that are actually happening on the floor. Right, and consistently call the fouls that are actually happening on the floor.
They've got to be better. She wasn't just angry, she was furious. Not just because her players were being targeted, but because the league was sitting on its hands. While a generational talent was being subjected to physical abuse, not you control the game by calling the fouls that are actually happening on the floor right, and consistently calling the fouls that are actually happening on the floor. And Clark, she didn't whine, she didn't retaliate, and she didn't crumble. She got up every single time, and she kept playing, kept scoring, and kept delivering daggers from beyond the arc. Her composure under pressure was chilling, and her mental toughness was unmatched. She looked every opponent, every critic, and every hater square in the eye and said, "You can shoot me, foul me, and knock me to the floor, but you can't break me." But this wasn't just about the numbers, as impressive as they were. This was about the way she played, the swagger, the confidence, and the absolute refusal to be intimidated by a Connecticut Sun team that came into Indianapolis thinking that could take advantage of a player coming back from injury. The Sun learned the hard way that there is no such thing as a vulnerable,